and it's going to be green light racing here at Monza. Here goes Noah. He's going to try and go wheel to wheel with the leader. Vic, once again, back on the top step. We did say take it easy. Oh my goodness. Sinead's going to go for it here into 14, 15. Side by side, is it going to be Mercedes or is it going to be a BMW?
Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another round of racing here at Phoenix Sim Sport. And today we have a wonderful race ahead of us. We are here for round 4 at Watkins, Glen. So I do realize I did get the briefing just a little bit wrong. Round 4 at Watkins, Glen is going to be an hour long of racing here at the wonderful American track. One of the best tracks in ACC, and many drivers here will be quite fond of this track. Drivers are just now getting ready to start their laps, get onto track, and get ready for the qualifying session. So we're going to go ahead and get switched over so you can see all of that going on. Current leader of the championship is Nico. I believe he has won just about every race so far. Might be missing one or two. A wonderful season from him so far. Leading the field right now is the 557. Looks like they might get overtaken by this Mercedes, though. Qualifying outlaps, though. Not very important to overtake your rivals during the qualifying outlap. Mostly just get yourself into a position where you're able to get a good lap time in. So, bridge that gap to the cars in front, and then start your lap times. That being said, server got very unhappy with us for a minute there. I'm not sure why. If you are in the stream chat, I think the stream chat is working, but it's not showing anyone has said anything for me. Are in the stream chat, make sure you say hello. Get excited for the race we are about to witness. And it's going to be the first car setting the first lap of qualifying, starting that lap right now as the Lambo crosses the line and flies through turn 1. Turn 2, the S's go uphill. These are all flat out in pretty much every weather you can imagine, bar for maybe flooded, but even in flooded, you can pretty much keep the throttle pinned. Back straight into the chicane, one of the sections drivers will have the most trouble with. These curbs here are brutal for some of the cars that don't have the setup or the know-how to take them. Long sweeping corner of turn 9. Very important to get that one right. And now down into turn 10. A little less important, but a awkward line to get nonetheless. Sets up a good overtake here into turn 11 as we go uphill for the braking zone and sweep around what is a very low grip section. And on to the second straightaway here at Watkins Glen. It's not a very easy straightaway to get right. You do have to get that good exit from that very tricky corner of turn 11. That uphill corner is going to probably be the hardest corner on track. I can't imagine any others being harder than that. Temperatures are very, very hot right now, so drivers will have to contend with a little bit of extra temperature in the tires, a little bit of extra slip on this track surface. And it's going to be the first car crossing the line. It's going to be a 1:45.6 as the reference time. Carlos will cross the line and improve just behind. Jake Spinner also crossed the line with a 2:08, so not really a great lap time from him. I think just getting across the line was his priority. And Arced will set himself up into P4. I'm going to move this graphic ever so slightly. There we go. That should be better for the stream. Fastest lap from Rufo, going up into P1 with a 1:44.6. We should see that lap time beat as the session goes on. The track temperatures will increase a little bit, but the grip will increase exponentially. Carlos, currently on the fastest lap time delta, will lose that out of this middle sector. And turn 11 causing troubles yet again, as good exit from the Mercedes keeps the power down on the tires. Usby on big improvement right now. He settled himself into P3, now demoted to P4 with a 1:45.0. He will improve on that lap time before this session is up. Best lap time from Nico with a 43.97. Apologies. Early in the morning, I do need to get my coffee. Is a good time for racing. Usby will go through the final sector now, crossing turn 12 and down into 13. 7/10 up on his lap. It won't be enough to set himself up into pole position just yet, but a little bit more time gained, and he will be contending for Nico's position at the front of the grid. Make sure this is all working. And it will be Usby crossing the line up into P2. So not quite up into first place yet. Still 0.3 of a second separating him from the lead of this qualifying session and the potential lead of this race. Big improvements for quite a few drivers on the grid right now. Pronzo probably on the biggest improvement of all the drivers yet. 3/10 up on his lap. 3/10 can make quite the difference, and the field is all very tightly wound right now. A 45.5 to improve on, and the next lap time down the road is a 45.2, so 0.3 will be enough to set himself up a fair amount of distance. And I'm seeing a 0.4 there for a second as well. Usby on improvement right now, 0.2 up on his delta. That's nearly enough for P1. So there's potential we're going to see a little fight here in the qualifying session between Nico and Usby for that P1 position. Rufo not quite in the fight just yet. Currently not improving on his lap time. He will need to improve by 0.6 of a second in order to set himself up into P1. I saw a purple delta there for just a minute. I think Usby quite close to improving on his lap time. In fact, Usby is on improvement. The Porsche, also on improvement, will move from P10 all the way up into P9, just shy of the position right ahead of him. That is Nico losing the position to Usby, as Usby manages a 43.8. We'll see if Nico can reply. He is on an invalid lap right now, so it's going to be just Usby cruising to a nice pole position. No contest just yet. Drivers will think about starting to return to the pit lane, get those fresh tires on for the second half of qualifying, where you see a lot more grip. Sector 1 was Usby's weakest sector in free practice, and it's looking like it's also his weakest sector in qualifying. Only a green sector from him for Sector 1, with double purple for the middle and final sectors. He will need to get that first sector time up if he does want to keep himself nice and safe from Nico behind, because Nico will absolutely be looking for improvement, and improvement is going to come in the form of Sector 1 being that much quicker than the Ferrari up ahead. That RSR Ferrari is quick, but Nico right now is quicker. That 1/10 gained in that first sector is going to make the difference, and he is on improvement to set himself into pole position if he can hold on to the lap time. The long lap, though. Not too hasty with the call when you're on a big lap like this. Although that first sector is, in my eyes, the most important sector to get right here at Watkins Glen. You get that sector right, usually the rest of the lap will fall into play and end up nice and smooth. And maybe this will be just smooth enough for Nico to take back his pole position. 0.2 up on the Delta, that is plenty enough to take over Yuzubi's position. He only needs 0.1 in order to improve, and the McLaren nearly rejoins the track in front of him. I think that might have spooked Nico just a little bit, but he's still on improvement, still 0.2 up. Make it only 0.1 as he runs just a little bit wide and clips the grass. It's teetering on the edge of being not enough, but it should be enough as he crosses through the final corner, turn 15, 0.3 up on the Delta, and he will cross the line all the way up into P1 with just a little bit of extra lap time that Yuzubi was missing out on. Both drivers in the pits now, so we will see what happens with the latter half of this qualifying session. No drivers on improvement right now. Everyone is invalidated, or at least not on a good lap time Delta. It's not quite what you want to see in qualifying. Sebastian on improvement here in P15. 0.4 up on the Delta, and increasing that as he exits through turn 11 down the straightaway for one of the few times drivers will get for the qualifying session. Nice sweeping corner of turn 12, very, very fun, very enjoyable corner to drive. And turn 13, very important to get this one right. Very easy to mess it up in these high temperature conditions. It's a good lap time from the Ferrari so far, though, as he goes through down into the final corner. Nice heavy braking for this sweeping corner all the way out to the barrier. You want to essentially scratch it with your mirror and nothing more. Across the line, it will be a position improvement, but nothing more than that. Rufo in P5 on improvement, 0.1 up on his Delta right now. He needs to find 0.1 in order to set himself into P4, and he needs to find a whole 0.3 in order to put himself into P3. Drivers in front still in the pit lane. Nico will be the first of that group to leave the pit lane, though, getting his time out on track nice and soon. Yuzubi will likely be one of the last ones to follow out. Just getting his car prepared for the end of this qualifying session, where there is the most grip on track. Carlos will leave the pit lane next, so he will get ready to set his lap time, and we're going to see a little bit of a fight here for those front-running positions. Rufo still on improvement, 0.3 up on his Delta as we go down the back straightaway. Also known as the boot here at Watkins Glen. Heavy braking for turn 12 to get nice and smoothed out. Good exit here. You want to run all the way wide, even though it looks like you could invalidate. The track limits here are quite generous with how wide you can go on a lot of these corners. This Mustang still on improvement as we go through the penultimate corner and the ultimate corner here at Watkins Glen. Nice sweeping corner all the way out to the barrier. It's a good run from the Mustang, 0.5 up on the Delta. That will be enough to improve several positions straight into P3, putting himself right in the battle for the front of the field. Only 0.3 seconds now left to gain if he wants to set himself up into P1. So quite a close fight here at the front for this American Grand Prix. Arced in P7 on improvement, 0.2 up on his Delta. That will be enough to put himself into P6 if he can hold it all the way throughout this lap. And Rufo in P3 on improvement. We're going to go back to that to have a look as Arced is losing that lap time, dropping off just a little bit. Rufo is not dropping off, 0.2 up on his lap. That's almost enough for pole position. He only needs a little bit more and he'll be in that fight for the front of the field. could well see a Mustang leading the field, a driver we haven't seen lead the field yet. 0.4 up on the Delta for a second there. It's enough to take pole position if he keeps this lap time down the second straightaway for one of the final times in this qualifying session. Still 5 minutes left on the clock. That is about 4 to 3 laps, depending on when you cross the line. And right now, Rufo is looking to cross the line sooner than later. 0.3 up on the Delta, still 0.4 now as he gets ready to cross the line. Final 2 corners, he's just got to keep it smooth for these final 2 times, and he'll be in pole position. And a wonderful lap from him so far as he gets ready for the final corner. It's a very strong sector to beat, and it's not going to be improvement for him. Well, it's going to be improvement, but I don't know if it's going to be a position gain, and it's not. He loses the lap time across the line and does not improve his position, only his lap. A 43.905 compared to a 43.897. Just 0.12 of a second. Or sorry, 0.012 of a second separating them. A blink of an eye, less than a blink of an eye, separating the front of the grid right now. GOVEE is back out on track. We were talking about that. No drivers in the top 3 on improvement right now, as you saw Rufo giving way to Nico. No longer improving on his lap time, so he's not going to stay in the way. And he will return to the pit lane, so no more laps from him for now. Sure, he will get back out on track relatively soon. Linus in that Lamborghini on a little bit of improvement, 0.4 up on their Delta. And we will just look at the best relative between all the drivers. You can see those are the gaps separating them. It's not that much of a not that much of a gap separating these drivers right now. Very, very close between the top 3 especially. If you have a look up there. It's going to be a very interesting fight today, I believe. Especially considering there's a Mustang in the fight, and Mustang is very, very quick here at Watkins Glen. Nico will slightly improve his lap time from a 43.78 to a 43.71. So just barely making that gap just a little bit bigger. That way, he can defend his position more reasonably. That being said, lots of drivers are on improvement, but none in the top are on improvement right now. That will be Linus, or Linus? Is it Linus or Linus? I can't really tell. I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name. Moves up into P7 from P10, so a good lap time from them. Arced on improvement right now, will set himself up several positions if he can hold on to this lap time. Final 2 corners for him. And this qualifying session is nearly over. Crossing the line now, Arced will have 2 laps remaining after this. So, this lap and the next will be his final 2 laps of this session before we move on to the race session, sorry. Arced will stay in P6, not improving on his lap time at all. Or at least the improvement he got was not enough to take a position away from another driver. I think he has backed off just a little bit, so he will not improve on his lap time. Carlos on a little bit of improvement right now. Not enough for him to set himself up a position just yet. He does need 0.3 of a second in order to get up into P3. 0.2 of a second will set him into the 43, so he'll be the 4th driver to do so. And, well, he needs a total of 0.5 of a second to set himself up into pole position. And right now, looking very unlikely as he gets held up by some traffic and loses his lap time. So now a 0 delta for him. Across the line, 0 seconds on his delta. He will not improve his lap time, but he will get a final shot at a lap time as he crosses the line just in time to set a final lap. Bronzo in P8 on improvement. He will cross the line, might gain a position here. We'll see as he crosses the line, and he will gain a position up into P7. A great lap time from the Porsche driver to set himself into a nice starting position. Right in the middle of the field, right at the front of the midfield, rather. Never a bad spot to be. As always, points here in Phoenix Subsport go all the way down to P20, sorry. P20 is the last points-paying position, so anywhere in these top 20 positions, drivers can score points. They go up exponentially every 5, so top 5 earn a lot more points than top 10, then top 15, then top 20. Points separating the top 5 are 5 points separating them. I believe the top 10 is only 3 points, top 15, 2 points, and 1 point for separation of the top 20. So, definitely worthwhile to go for those 5 intervals. P6 is worth a lot less than P5 because of that, and it makes some points a lot more worth the risk than others. Nico was on improvement, but he will invalidate his lap, so that is his qualifying session over. GOVEE, still on a 0-0 right now, could be the lap time he needs in order to get up into pole position. 0 seconds on the delta is still a way to improve. He just needs one good corner. He just needs to have one excellent exit from a corner here, but there's only 2 corners left for him to do it. P2 right now for the Ferrari driver. Is he going to be stuck here, or is he going to put himself into the front of the grid? It's a little bit of improvement out of the final corner, but it's all artificial as he goes crashing into the exit barrier, and he will not improve his lap time. A big hit from the Ferrari, and thankfully he managed to keep it going, but will not improve on his lap time. So that is our front of the grid fully established. Connor crossed the line. He will improve from P16 all the way into P11. Next driver to cross the line will be Julian in that McLaren. He will go up a few positions here, I do believe. Oh, it might be close as he crosses the line from P25 to P24. Good lap time from him. But Nico is certainly the star of the show right now. With that being said, that was a wonderful qualifying session. Drivers will be getting ready for the race session here shortly. Can't imagine it's going to take too long to roll over. We'll have a look at some of the liveries once we get the chance. But a wonderful, wonderful drive from Nico to set himself into pole position, and it's a great lap time from the rest of the drivers trying to keep up with that wonderful showing. So, obviously, we have Nico in P1, as we were just talking about. Managed a great lap time to set himself into pole position. GOVEE managed to make his way into P2 with that brand new RSR livery. Rufo, a great drive from the Mustang, nearly took pole position but relegated down to P3. Carlos managed to sneak his way into P4. Great lap time from the Mercedes driver, who should have a great battle today. Mercedes and Mustang, very quick here, very quick on the straightaways, so those Ferraris in front will have a little bit of worry with these two starting behind them. Apologies. Cavalcanti in P5 with that McLaren. Arced in P6 with the BMW. Bronzo in P7 with the Porsche. Linus in P8 with the Lamborghini. Ivanov also with the Lamborghini in P9. Glen in P10, a driver we've seen towards the front of the grid. So unfortunately, Watkins Glen just not serving the Audi driver well. Connor in P11 with the Porsche. Alexei with the Ferrari in P12. Sebastian also with the Ferrari in P13. Kelly, teammate of GOVEE, in P14 with that other RSR livery. P15 for the Mercedes driver of Florian. Webby in P16 with the Audi, the 757 Motorsport Audi. 757 Motorsport we've seen plenty of times on the grid before, and this is no exception. There is the number 3 McLaren in P17. Andrew Taggart making his way into P18 with the wonderful Phoenix SimSport livery. Max Glanville in P19 with no livery on his McLaren. P20 for Joven with the BMW, the last points paying position. He'll fight hard for this one. Goodland in P21 with the Gulf McLaren. Darkness making his way into P22 with the Aston Martin. Julian in P23 with the McLaren. Jonathan with the Mercedes in P24. Luca in the Porsche P25. Spinner in P26 with the other 757 Audi. Dennis in P27 with the McLaren. Marco in P28, also with the McLaren. Oster with the Aston Martin, a wonderful looking livery there in P29. And the last position on the grid is Joe Viper in P30. A couple of these drivers did have to serve penalties. I don't know if Joe Viper was one of them. I can check real quick while we are waiting. He was not one of them, so I think he just did not get the lap time in. Didn't manage to set a valid lap. He will be starting from the back of the grid, but it will be a fine position to start here at Watkins Glen. Track is quite difficult, quite dangerous sometimes. Watkins Glen can be quite a nightmare if you are not careful on that first lap. It's a very, very difficult first section here at Watkins Glen. Get it wrong, you get it very, very wrong. We'll just have a look at the track overview just for now. And that is the sweeping corner of Turn 1. And Turn 2 is where I expect to see a potential big incident. Chicane, we could also see quite a bit of incident at. Very difficult section to get right. Sweeping corners here of the middle sector, all very, very important. And very limited time left for these drivers to prepare. That uphill right-hander is brutal and leads all the way down into the third and final sector for the finish line. Drivers will have quite a bit on their mind here. And quite a bit to worry about at a track like Watkins Glen. Getting ready to go. Just a few seconds remaining before we start this formation lap. ACC is a rolling start, so GT3 drivers do not have to start stationary on the grid. They will have a little bit of time to get rolling and not have to worry about starting with absolutely no momentum. Some of these cars do not do very well with no momentum, so the rolling start helps those that are not quite up to par when it comes to a standing start. Nico leads the field in P1, leading the championship as well. His rival there, Yuzubi, just behind, will give him no space to work with, I'm sure. Should be a wonderful battle. This section right here is the one I am most worried about for this first lap. I've seen so many incidents, and you can imagine if someone spun out there, there's going to be a huge pileup up the hill, and that's where you get a red flag. Red flag situation very easily caused by an incident through that uphill section. Still, we're not going to think about it too much because we're going to think about what is going to happen in Turn 1. That's what drivers are going to have their eyes on first and foremost. And Nico will have to worry about defending from the Ferrari just behind him. That Mustang just behind him also, as we go up the hill, will be very, very rapid. Might even get side by side with both Ferraris here. Mustang has the highest top speed in ACC. When it comes down to the GT3 cars, it is very, very quick in a straight line, but struggles a little bit in the corners. High-speed corners, though, it tends to do quite well at. So Watkins Glen certainly favors the Mustang of all the cars here today. McLaren also does quite well here at Watkins Glen, and BMW equally so. Although the BMW thrives just a little bit more when it comes down to the long term. Do better for fuel than any other car here. I think it outbeats the Ferrari fuel usage as well. So quite a lot to pay attention to. Drivers do have a mandatory pit stop today, and we'll make sure properly set up in the window. There we are. So, lots of opportunities for drivers to make moves. I'm not sure where we're going to see most of the moves today. You can imagine some brazen overtakes as drivers go through the final few corners here to get ready to start the race. See all the manufacturers on the left, and I'm noticing a predominant group of McLarens at the back of the grid. But we are getting ready to go racing. And it will be a wonderful race today, I am sure. There we go. Sorry, I'm messing with the settings right now. So drivers will cross the line and get ready to go racing. Nico leads the field with Yuzubi just behind. Watkins Glen has you go just a little bit further into the straightaway before it calls the start. That Mustang is antsy to get going. And it is green, 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 and away we go. And it's a poor launch for Yuzubi, who's under threat from not just one, not just two, but three different cars. Down into turn one, the Mustang makes it side by side with Nico. Just barely enough room for him, and the Mustang will jump the position up into P2. McLaren looking for the space behind Yuzubi, and the Mustang looking for the space behind Nico. Up the hill we go, and those Ferraris are looking like they are free pickings for the other drivers. No straight line speed for them. They will be side by side between Rufo and Nico. Rufo will back out, and Yuzubi will be safe behind. Yuzubi thinks about making the move on the Mustang, nearly gets side by side. In fact, does get side by side for just a split second there. It's an amazing race start for the Mustang driver, who's still now under threat from Yuzubi behind. All the cars go filing through this middle sector, start of the middle sector, rather. Yuzubi runs just a little bit wide. That might put him under threat from the McLaren behind, and McLaren thinks about a dive down the inside. There's not going to be space for him, though, so he thinks better of it. Gets a good exit onto the straightaway, and that's going to be another threat for Yuzubi to deal with. Down this main straight, all the drivers go flying through as we get a nice TV cam view of everything going on. Seems to have settled out just a little bit, but not really, as Nico still leads the field with Rufo just behind, followed by Yuzubi, followed by Cavalcanti, followed by Carlos. So Carlos dropping back a position, Yuzubi dropping back a position. Good positions gained from both the Mustang and the McLaren. And that launch certainly played impact into this race. Ivanov under threat as a huge group of cars here tries to defend the inside. It's going to be a little bit too little too late. Now side by side with the Porsche. Will have the outside line for turn one. Can keep it there. And the Porsche will back out, so not holding that inside line. Ivanov will be safe for now. Linus trying to make a move on the two fighting up ahead. It's going to be side by side up the hill for the drivers. That is Cavalcanti and Carlos both battling. Almost an incident as we go up the hill. It's very, very close. A little bit of contact, but it looks so far so good. I think Cavalcanti losing out in all of this. Side by side for Ivanov and the Porsche. A little bit of a squeeze on the curb, and the Porsche going over the curb will lose the position to Ivanov. So now Cavalcanti will gain the position, and it's Kerlin taken out by Connor. So Connor just losing a little bit of control through the chicane, never really gained back control of the car, and ended up taking out the Audi driver in return. Very, very close between Rufo and Nico. Might be a move here down onto this middle straightaway, and it's very, very close on exit here. It's not a good exit from Nico. This is going to be the Mustang's opportunity to make a move as we go flying down the second straightaway. Mustang not getting the exit they needed. I think just a little bit too close behind on the back of that Ferrari to make the move. Yuzubi also looking for the space. I think Nico's holding this group up right now. Nico's not found his footing just yet. And it's going to be very, very close between the top three as we go down into the third sector. Very heavy braking here as we go for the final corner. No braking here needed. Just a little bit of a lift, and you can carry the speed. And now down onto the straightaway. It's going to be a good exit from Yuzubi, I think. A good line from the Mustang as well. And that will put Nico into a little bit of a safety window. Although that safety window is very quickly diminished by that straight line speed of the Mustang. So quick in a straight line. A little bit of poor braking from the Mustang will cause him to close in too much, too soon. And now Yuzubi will have a lot more slipstream going up the hill. And that Mustang, not the best for torque, but certainly a lot of top speed, will run away now that we have hit the flat section of track here. Linus also trying to make the move, holds the outside line on Carlos just in front. Carlos should be safe and sound here, though, as the Lambo driver gives way, does not decide to fight it. Malo very, very close behind Sebastian here as they go into the chicane. Very, very close all the field right now as we go flying through the first, I believe, already 2 laps down, and a third one here to go. Linus very, very close behind the behind Carlos here as we go through turn 11. And some amazing racing so far that we've been here to bear witness to. Linus not getting quite the exit he needs, so he will drop back ever so slightly. Sebastian very, very close. That will be one of the drivers. I think that is a blue flag already. Losing time, and the Ferrari very heavy on the brakes, very late on the brakes. I think they know where they want to make the move next lap around. Used to be very close behind Rufo 4P2. Keeping an eye on all of the gaps going on all over the track. Nothing has opened up in the slightest. Nico with the fastest lap of the race of 44.3 will try to run away from the 2 behind as they start to fight. And that is something Yuzubi will have to think about, is when does he want to make the move? Even if there is a clear opportunity, it's not always the best position. Driver exits the pits. I believe that was Stick. He will have repaired his car from first lap incidents, and now this is a potential overtake into the chicane for Sebastian. Very, very close behind the bumper of Webby as they go up the hill through down into the chicane. He thinks about it. He sure thinks about it, but he backs out at the last minute. No space for Sebastian just yet, but he will certainly have his eye on that position. Cavalcanti very, very close behind the Lamborghini of Ivanov here, P6 and P7 respectively. Up the hill for turn 11, and leveling out for the second straightaway. And it's not quite the exit that the McLaren needed. The Lamborghini is going to run away and just set a little bit more of a gap to the driver behind. So no opportunities just yet for the McLaren driver. Sebastian's still very, very close as we go down through turn 12 and down into 13. Some great battling so far today. Down through the final sector towards the straightaway. The best opportunity to make a move is the chicane, but it's also the spot where you have to have the most bravery to make a move. If you're not brave there, you will not be able to overtake, and Watkins Glen will punish you severely for not overtaking at that opportunity. Most of the track is relatively hard to overtake at, but this is the best section because of the slipstream, and it looks like a mistake in front is going to bring Sebastian side by side and fully ahead before the chicane, but the Audi, very quick in a straight line, may be able to fight back and take back that position into the chicane. We'll see here as we go down onto the main straight for turn 5, the chicane. The Audi will look for the move down the inside, but it's not going to be space for him, so he backs out at the last minute, stays behind for now, and will think about making the move later on. Max in front, having just a little bit of issue, will now be under threat from the both of them. Webby could very well follow Sebastian through if Sebastian makes a move on this McLaren, or rather even makes a mistake and takes out the McLaren. Ivanov very close behind Linus here, I think losing the position to the Lamborghini driver. Or sorry, to the who's it what? Oh, they're both Lamborghini drivers. No, not losing the position. Ivanov is fighting for the position here. I do believe, unless I am mistaken. It's been a lot to keep track of so far. Nearly an opportunity for Cavalcanti to make the move there. Very, very close under braking, but just not quite enough space. Down onto the straightaway. This might be an opportunity for the McLaren to make this move on Ivanov. He needs a good exit to do so, but Ivanov also getting an equally good exit. Will stay ahead just for now. Yellow flag for Glanville. Not sure what that is about just yet. Or rather, a caution sign for Glanville. Not quite a yellow flag just yet. A couple drivers have served their pit stops already very early into the race, so we'll see how that works out for them. On the left-hand side of your screen, you can see all drivers with the orange number 1 have not served their pit stops yet. Drivers with a green in place of that have served their pit stop. They will gain about a minute of time to some of the other drivers, give or take, depending on what they choose to do in the pit stop. You usually lose about a minute with the pit stop. All drivers have to serve the pit stop, so there is some strategy here for offer. If you decide to pit early on, you can set some really fast lap times and overtake when the other drivers enter the pit lane on longer stints. But that also means you're under more threat later on in the race where your tires aren't as good and your rivals are on fresher rubber than you are. Malo very close behind the Audi here for P11. Sebastian has run away, so now that leaves Zach Webby in a position where he's under threat from not just one but two different McLarens behind him. So he will have to worry about these two cars. Very quick in the corners, but not very quick on the straights, and that's going to be the Audi's one big strength against them. Oh, it's a big slide from Max, but he just about keeps control of the car. Inside line for Malo, gets him side by side with the Audi. Best lap for Nico, but right now we're looking at one of the best fights on track right at this very second. Malo not able to make the move, will stay behind just for now, but it's a better exit from him. Down into the final corner, will he get a good launch on the Audi? It's not going to be quite so good. It's going to be a scrape of the wall. It's going to put him under threat from Max behind, and now side by side down into turn 1. Max has that inside line. Malo left the door open, and now it's going to be a free invitation for the other McLaren. He's going to hold that line for now, and it's going to be a better exit from Max as well, taking that position away from Malo and moving himself up into P12. Great move from him, taking advantage of the situation. Now he's got to chase down Webby, who's built up a second gap to the two as they fought. Cavalcanti closing in on his rival just in front, with Ivanov losing just a little bit of time, gaining just a little bit of time, and now Ivanov bridging that gap just a little bit more, setting himself up with a little bit of a safety barrier to the McLaren just behind him. The gaps have opened up quite significantly here, although many drivers are still close. Nico has run away with P1. Rufo still in P2 under threat from Uzeby. And I think Uzeby will be looking to make this move sooner rather than later, seeing how much time he's losing to Nico staying behind. Malo very, very close here behind Glanville. Might be able to make the move himself if he is wise about it. Uzeby only 0.3 of a second behind the Mustang driver. We'll go on board and see what he's able to do as we cross the line for one of the earlier parts of this race still. 47 minutes left on the clock is a lot of time for these drivers to make a move. A lot of time for these drivers to make their opportunities worthwhile. And it's not the overtake that Uzeby wanted just yet. Still, He will stay just behind and fight back later on. Linus in P5, also very close here behind Carlos for P4. Could see a fight happen here as well. We go through the sweeping corner of turn 9. Down into turn 10. It's not going to be an opportunity just yet for the drivers. Cavalcanti, very, very close behind Ivanov, just behind that fight. Usby closing in, I think a big mistake from the Mustang driver. We'll click over to that to make sure we don't miss anything here. As we go through turn 12, down into 13, it's a little bit of a wide line from the Mustang. I think he's struggling right now to keep on the pace. And Usby's going to put that pressure on. He's going to put that pressure on thick and fast. 0.4 behind, but he will lose time here on the straightaway. You can see that gap open up with how quick the Mustang is in this sector. And Usby will really need to get his Sector 1 in order to stay close enough behind in order to make the move in the Mustang's weak sector. That Sector 2 is where the Mustang will start to suffer. Lots of low-speed corners, lots of corners the Mustang generally doesn't excel at. It's a good line from Usby. He will stay nice and close behind up the hill, but he'll lose a little bit of that as we go down the main straightaway. Ivanov very close behind, and here Cavalcanti getting involved in an incident here into turn 1. I think we'll look at the replay to see what happened. Just an incident between Ivanov and Cavalcanti into... No, it would be Linus and Cavalcanti into turn 1. So it's 2 in front of 2. It's a almost 4-wide battle here. And just a little bit late on the brakes will take out Linus. So that's going to be a penalty for Cavalcanti. And then spinning himself out afterwards to add insult to injury. It's not the opportunity he would have wanted. Now these two are going to fight for this position. See what happens. Now I think Cavalcanti is going to be a little bit more passive. Certainly want to, well, I say passive. He's already making moves, and he's already just slotted himself ahead of the driver he took out not a lap prior. Ivanov will make his way up a position as well. I believe I have just pressed the wrong button, so... we should see this replay, but should see the overtake in this replay. Is the hope. But you can see Ivanov very, very close behind here. I think it's just going to be a mistake from the car in front. Can't see him making the dive from this far back. I think it's probably just a little bit of a slip on the exit of the corner. Only 10 seconds left in this replay, so we may well not see what happened. It is just going to be a better exit for the Lamborghini driver. I think he just made a dive under braking. Now back to the live. You can see very, very close still behind. Oh, not out of the woods yet for Ivanov. Linus very, very close on the back of Webby here. Cavalcanti moving his way up past this group, and now Webby under threat as we go down into the chicane. That will be a move for the Lamborghini, maybe, as they go side by side, and Webby forced to take the grass. Glenville tried to make a move there, but wasn't quite able to find the space. Malo just behind, looking for the opportunity as well. And it is a 5-car battle for position. It's an amazing fight so far, and it's not going to end anytime soon, I can't imagine. Webby under threat as the McLaren pushes him out of the corner, and now that door on the inside nearly opens up, but Webby braking late, closing off that line, and Glanville will be stuck behind for just a little bit longer. Now Malo has the opportunity to make the move on Max here. Max will look for the move down the inside of the Audi. Not going to be quite the space he needs. Malo could get a good launch here as Max was not on the best of lines entering the corner. He's under threat. 0.2 of a second separating them right now. And it's very, very close here at Watkins Glen. with this amazing fight between the McLarens, between the Audi, and for a points-paying position, a good points-paying position. Linus is running away with it right now, though. P10 is worth a lot more than P11, and these drivers are fighting tooth and nail for everything they have. Arced in P6, closing in on the back of Carlos here. So Carlos not very safe. It's the BMW as well. BMW has good straight line speed. Carlos forced to go all the way defensive down the inside. Side by side into the chicane. Is going to be a good sweep from the BMW. A little bit of contact between the two drivers, and it's going to be Arced slotting himself just barely in front. And a big sweep from the BMW. Manages to just about hold on to that position. So a little bit of contact, but it turned into an opportunity for Arced to make the move. And he made the best of what he had to move himself up into P5. Now Carlos is going to be looking for a move back at him. Webby also now looking for a move back past Max, but it's not going to be quite the opportunity he wants, as now Mallow tries to make the move on him. We go through turn 10 and down into 11. This is the McLaren strong corner. This is where the Audi will struggle just a little bit more than the other cars here. Very late under braking for the McLaren driver. Will lose the position, and now that's Linus off the track, losing a bunch of time. I think losing control of the car. So now he loses the position, and now it's Max all the way up into P10 and Webby into P11. Linus rejoins the battle right behind Webby. And Mallow has a new threat to fight as he goes down into turn 13. Staring at the bumper of a brand new car. A car he hasn't been buying before, and now he is. You can see in the background there, that's Maverick, Andrew Taggart, closing in on this battle. So the more these drivers fight, the more they lose. And that could well invite another party in. I would say third party, but it's more like a fifth, as we've had several drivers here fighting. And now Webby losing the position. Oh, it's a little bit of a shunt from the Lambo driver, not clearing the car fully before taking the racing line. And that will shove Webby off into the barriers. Andrew Taggart gains the position because of that. So does Mallow. And Max now has a car behind who he can guarantee is getting a penalty. So he has a little bit of less worry from the car behind. Only real worry now is that as the Lamborghini, you've got to drive aggressive. You've got to make up for that penalty. And I don't think it's aggressive enough, as Mallow will go down the inside. A little bit of door rubbing between the pair of them. It's all clean there. And now side by side down into turn 11. Lamborghini has that inside line. That inside line is quite important here. You can't really sweep around the outside, but the McLaren's going to do it anyways. A nice line from him. It's going to be a good exit. They're going to go side by side down the back straight. And down into turn 12, I think. McLaren has that outside line. It's going to get closed off as the Lamborghini slots himself fully ahead. And it's a great fight so far. Linus doing everything he can to hold on to this position. He does need to bridge enough of a gap to get himself nice and safe from his impending penalty. But it's not going to be safe just yet. And you can see how close Andrew Taggart has gotten as these guys have all fought tooth and nail for whatever position they can get a hold of. It's 2 full seconds lost to the driver behind. Entering the pits now is Max, I think just taking his opportunity while he's ahead. And now Mallow and Linus will temporarily move up a position. If they choose not to fight here, they could potentially be in the running to earn themselves a position on Glanville. So Glanville, a little bit early into the pits, will be susceptible to the overcut. Now Andrew Taggart has closed in on this fight. He will be well and truly in the battle. Mallow will be stuck in the middle. If he's not careful, he needs to make this overtake sooner rather than later, or he's going to be under an immense amount of threat from both the car behind and essentially the car in front, as Linus dictates the pace for this fight. As the car in front, you are allowed to drive just a little bit more defensive. That defensive driving will slow down your opposition. If they go for a move and they don't make that move stick, you can see a fight behind you, and that's where you really want to give it 100% as that driver in front. Three-way battles are always some of my favorite things here in ACC. and these will be no exception to watch. Usby has closed in on the back of the Mustang, finally closing that gap back again. He was 0.8 behind at the start of this lap. I think a little bit of a mistake from the Mustang will lose him the position, or lose him the time, rather. Usby will run very, very wide, takes the warning, and decides to keep the speed. I think he wants to carry that speed all the way up the hill. Might be a tactical decision from the Ferrari driver, using every bit of the rules to his advantage. And down into the chicane, he is quite close. This will be a good opportunity into this middle sector for him. Blue flags could play an impact here. We could see a change of position here at the front of the grid. Usby is in prime position. That blue flag will give way nice and safely off the racing line, though. It's not going to hold up the Mustang nearly as much as Usby might hope for. Down into turn 10 and now into turn 11. This is where the Mustang starts to take off a little bit more. This is where the Ferrari's advantage comes to an end. This braking zone right here and this throttle zone are the final two sections where the Ferrari has the advantage, and now advantage is back in the Mustang's corner. Mustang will lead this charge and try to bridge the gap to the Ferrari behind. If Usby doesn't stay in the slipstream here, he could be in danger. He needs to stay close enough in order to keep this slipstream down the straightaway. It's a big mistake from the Mustang ahead. It will keep Usby close enough for now. 0.8 of a second, 0.5 of a second separating them now, 0.3. It's not a good line from the Mustang drivers. We go down into the final few corners. Will Usby be close enough to make the move on the straightaway? That Ferrari struggling for straight line speed against a car with the mighty engine of that, that American-made engine carrying that car, because certainly the aerodynamics are not. Balance of performance as well, helping the Ferrari here. I think the Ferrari just slightly slower when it comes down to the raw balance of these cars. We have the cars balanced for the average lap time and the usage of the cars. Mallow very close behind Linus here for P10, so this battle is not over, and Andrew Taggart is in this fight now, and the car just behind him, blue flag car, will not, will hopefully not involve themselves too much, and if they are going to involve themselves, hopefully it's just to unlap themselves and continue on down the road. Several drivers at the back of the grid have served their pit stops, so we're at that stage of the race where you can make a pit stop and not really lose anymore. Mallow will be thinking about that almost certainly when he wants to pit behind this Lamborghini driver. You can pit to make an overtake, and I think that will be the wise decision here. Minding, a lot of these drivers are not on complete esport pace, which also means their pit stops usually leave a little bit of room for error. So we could see some big gains in the pits if a driver gets it right. You do have to get the car stopped quite well, though, and you have to get that pit entry very, very much so right in order to gain a position with a good pit stop. Getting the car stopped is probably the hardest thing here in Assetto Corsa Competizione. The box is not very forgiving, not like a real GT car would be. Some of the pit stops you see in the like IMSA series are quite ridiculous. I've seen a pit stop with the car fully sideways, pointed at the pit crew as they went in, and they managed to get that thing out and rolling ahead of their opponent. But I think there's less time to think about that as Rufo dives into the pit lane. That will be now hammer time for Usby, hammer time for Nico to think about when they want to pit, how much pace they want to put down before they pit. You really got to use all that your tires have left before you go into that pit stop. I think Rufo has done well for that. He did pull significantly from Usby just before diving into the pit lane. Andrew Taggart now well and truly in this fight just behind the McLaren. It's 1.8 seconds. And I believe that is a temporary blue flag behind him. That is Webby, who was, I believe, part of this fight not too long ago. So losing almost a full lap in the pit. He will gain back that time as the drivers in front of him dive into the pit lane, but will he lose that time having to follow this group. Obviously now, he's going to get held up by the drivers in front of him. He is the quicker driver here. He's on the fresher rubber, and he is certainly under threat. Glen, also fighting for this position, has pitted, so this is officially a fight for position, and a fight for a position near the middle of the field, near the middle of the points-paying positions. 0.2 of a second separating them. Glen is the quicker driver here, I think, in terms of qualifying performance today. And will chase him down the straightaway halfway through this race, and it's only just started to kick off the battle yet again. Down into the final sector, Glen right on the bumper of Webby, giving him absolutely nothing to work with. And, well, I'm sure Webby's rear view mirror is just an Audi front bumper right now. Not a whole lot more to see than just the car behind when they are following so close. But a little bit of a gap now for Webby will set some of that pressure aside, but that pressure will swiftly be reintroduced as Glen gets a better launch out of the corner. Better braking from the Audi behind as well, and this is going to be the threat. A little bit of a bump draft out of the corner, so getting a push from your rival just because you are a little bit off the pace is never a good feeling. And now that is certainly going to be messing with Webby. That's a great launch from Glen using that slipstream. They're going to go side by side down into the chicane. Glen has that inside line. It's heavy braking from the Audis, and it's going to be Glen just cruising his way in front. I don't know if space was left for Webby or not, but Glen certainly made the move and made it well. Still waiting for the pit stop from the front of the field. No pits just yet. Nico still with the best lap of the race. Will cross the line and continue his race. Cruising with a 7-second gap to Uzebe behind. And it seems to have sort of spread out now with the pit stops. Most of the fights are going to be decided right now. Oh, my mouse appears on screen. Oh dear. I wonder if I can fix that. Whatever the case, has sort of smoothed out now, so not nearly as much going on. Fix the issue. There we go. Nice and fixed. So no more worrying about. Oh no, not fixed. For what that's about. Whatever the case, I will just avoid doing whatever is causing that. Carlos here in P12, right behind Darkness. Not an official points-paying position, or not official Battle 4 position, as Carlos has served his pit stop. Darkness has not, but Darkness is fully entitled to fight if he really wants to. There's nothing saying in the rulebook that he's not allowed to fight, but I think Darkness usually opts not to fight these types of positions, given you lose a lot of lap time, and it's not really in your favor. Mercedes will have the inside line for turn 1, will back out just before the corner and nearly contact. In fact, they're basically rubbing doors on the exit, and it's so close between the pair of them as they go up the hill now side by side. I think Darkness wants to fight for this. Darkness doesn't want to give it up, and he's going to stay side by side until we get down into the chicane. And now Darkness slotting in behind. We'll think about the move around the outside. A good launch from the Audi. Or not from the Audi, from the Aston Martin, but he will back out into the chicane and stay behind for now. Mercedes taking that position away. Great fight here, even if it wasn't truly for position. Nico into the pit lane, leaves Uzebe in P1. It's hammer time for Uzebe. All of his rivals have pitted around him, and now he needs to decide when he wants to dive into that pit lane and make his decision. I could see a driver getting away without tires here today. I think That was the Aston Martin running wide, giving way to GOVEE. So Carlos will be next to give way to the leader of the race, temporary leader of the race, although still P2, even if he isn't leading the race. Nico stuck behind Andrew Taggart here. That could play influence into this fight quite significantly. If Nico is unable to get past Andrew Taggart in a quick manner, that could open the door for a potential overtake by GOVEE. In fact, this is the fight to watch right now. This is where it all is going to start to boil down to. Nico right on the bumper of that McLaren. It is Andrew Taggart. He tends to be a little bit more reasonable than someone who wants to fight 24/7. I can't see him fighting this for very long. Yeah, he will concede to the inside, so that is Andrew Taggart giving way before we even reach the exit of the corner. So Andrew Taggart, understanding what's at stake, will not interfere with the fight. Glanville will make the overtake on Dennis here. Not an overtake for position, as Dennis has not pitted, so I think Dennis is giving way, if anything. Although he is, I believe, running the same livery as one of the drivers Max is fighting, so it may well be team orders here to continue this fight, and it certainly looks like it, as Dennis will try to make his way through the chicane, not able to make the move just yet. Nico gains the position to Ivanov, so Ivanov, I think, in the pits now. So is Andrew Taggart. So I think the last driver to pit will be GOVEE. See how much of an influence this later pit stop has on the outcome of this race. Because I think Rufo has been setting some very, very quick lap times. I think GOVEE might have blundered this position. Can't see a world in which GOVEE is gaining the position to Rufo here. I think that pit stop is going to cost him in the long run. According to my predictions, Rufo should take P2 here, and GOVEE will lose his P2, so he will not hold on to the second position. Will lose out in this overall fight. I think that late pit stop is the cause of the issue. Mallow now competing with Darkness. Again, Darkness still has not pitted, so one of the last drivers to pit on the grid. He will still hold up drivers, though, as he is fully entitled to do so. There is no blue flag when you're on the same lap, and Darkness is on the same lap. I think he's just getting some experience fighting, but it can be quite frustrating for some of the other drivers. Arced closing in on Crossland as well, so another driver not quite for position, interfering with that battle. And now Darkness under threat as we go through the middle sector of the McLaren. Very quick here, very quick on the straights, very quick overall here at Watkins Glen. Very competitive car, and a car that should be able to make this move just fine. Darkness will hold off the inside line, though. McLaren tried to go for it, but there just wasn't going to be the space. So now onto the straightaway. He's losing quite a bit of lap time here. This could cost him in the battle with Glanville. Glanville's going to be closing in steadily but surely. It's a 4-second gap, but you can lose 4 seconds fighting with another car quite easily. Arced and Ivanov now in a little bit of a fight, and this is a fight for position as they go down the straightaway. That blue flag is playing not quite a blue flag, but that no pit stop car is serving quite a bit of a interruption to these drivers, and now that will be Crossland getting taken out. I suppose you put yourself in that position. You're going to have antsy drivers behind you when you're not really for position. GOVEE in the pit lane. This will be the opportunity to watch. We're going to go on board with Nico just for now. Keep an eye on some of these other fights. And that, I do say, Cavalcanti will make the move on Crossland here. Again, another driver not for position. I think that's quite frustrating for some of the other drivers. When you're not on the same lap as someone, by technicality, and by technicality of the rules, They're allowed to fight tooth and nail all they want to hold you back. It will be a penalty, obviously, for taking out that driver, but I think you're sort of playing with fire in that sort of situation. GOVEE finally exiting the pit lane. Will Rufo manage to make the move? That is Rufo going through the first turn just now. So GOVEE losing the position. Not only losing the position, but losing so much time to the Mustang. So that later pit stop not only not helping him, but hurting him, and will play impact into the results of this race. 20 minutes left to push and catch up. Rufo, of course, on older tires, so GOVEE will have the advantage in pace, but he's not going to have the advantage in track position. I think track position matters a lot more here than just raw pace. So a bad call from the RSR driver, who usually makes really, really good strategy calls. I would know, we do a lot of racing together. So just a little bit of a poor strategy will cost him in the long run. Apologies, I was not watching the stream chat. James Konos, thank you for the subscription, and same with Senan Ra. I think this race is well and truly Nico's right now. I don't think Nico can lose it unless he does something especially silly. He should take this position and run away. And just carry on with his season. And it has been a very wonderful season from Nico so far. Kelly has moved himself up into P6. Kelly has had quite the season so far. Tends to do a little bit poorly for the qualifying sessions, but does very, very well when it comes down to race sessions. And race sessions are, well, race session is what we are in right now. So, should do quite well. Apologies. 0.3 of a second separating them right now, and that is Cavalcante just behind, making his way into this fight as well. So, not out of the woods yet for these drivers. In fact, while in the middle of the woods, I think quite a bit of trees around the track. It's close enough. It's not quite the Nordschleife level of woods, though. I don't believe Nordschleife is on the calendar this season, so drivers will be a little bit more relieved about that fact than I think we will be here in the commentary booth. I do love me a good Nordschleife race, and a good overtake into the chicane is another thing. And it's going to be a huge little scuffle here into the chicane as these drivers close in on each other. Kelly loses the position to one driver. The McLaren looking to make the move stick as well. Cavalcante not able to take advantage, so it is Kelly just losing out on the position. Cavalcante looking for a way to make the move as we go through what is turn number 10. And down into the uphill uphill right-hander of 11. Ivanov side by side with Arct here for P4, and Ivanov just barely squeaking his way ahead and leaving just barely enough room for the BMW. And I think Arct just backs out a little bit. I would certainly be nervous in a position like that with your nose so close to the back of the car in front. But Ivanov, very brave, makes the move stick and moves himself up into a wonderful P4 position. A position we have not seen this driver in quite a long time. And back into form for the Lamborghini. 18 minutes left on the clock, so drivers still have plenty of time to fight it out. But that is 2/3 of the race done so far. So not a huge amount of time left for these drivers to make any moves. This is nearly our finishing results, but these battles are still close, still not over yet. Ivanov still under threat. Cavalcante still just behind Kelly, still just behind Sebastian. Andrew Taggart right on the back of Malo right now. Lots of different positions available. USB has closed in quite quickly to the back of the Mustang as well. Keep an eye on that lap time, because USB is closing that gap steadily but surely. I think the ideal play for the RSR Ferrari, though, was to pit early on, get that undercut, keep the pace nice and quick. I think USB had the advantage when it came down to pace lap by lap. Just didn't take advantage of it where he needed to. Big fight here. I think that is a blue flag giving way. Lots of drivers on our screen right now, though. And that was a blue flag giving way, so Cavalcanti losing time to Kelly up in front. Kelly is that greenish blue and yellow Ferrari. And the green Ferrari just in front is Sebastian. Those are all drivers for positions. The drivers just behind are a lap down, but they are all fighting each other. So lots of fights going on track right now. Plenty of positions being exchanged. I'm sure of it. Though no positions quite yet being exchanged. Just mostly sorting out who's got what pace and who's going to deal with these blue flags. The blue flags are playing quite a big influence to this race. Doing anything wrong necessarily, but they are playing an impact. Joe Viper, 0.3 behind his rival here. Dennis, just in front. Will think about the move down the inside, but is going to think better of it. No way you can make the move from that far back into the chicane unless you do an absolute send. And an absolute send is an easy way to get yourself a penalty for dangerous maneuver, or potentially worse if you end up taking out the driver in front. Big mistake from the McLaren, though, will bring that BMW just a little bit closer and giving way to who's it? Who was that? I believe that is Carlos lapping these drivers. So that will play some impact. And that might be the door open as the McLaren gives way into the corner. And that's going to be a great run from the BMW. Thinks about the move. I think I have clicked on the wrong driver here. There we are, on board with Joe Viper on that front splitter. And it's not going to be the move just yet, but it is very, very close to being one. Now, opportunities like that are presented to the blue flags, given the blue flag rules. Blue flag drivers are required to give way as soon as safest opportunity. That could potentially allow your rival through if they follow the faster car. Always a possibility that you lose another position. Side by side for the two as Dennis goes around the outside of turn 1. We'll lose this position uphill as I think the BMW just has a little bit more torque. And now the straightaway for the chicane. We'll see if the McLaren can take it back that position or whether or not he'll lose it. Another position is being traded a little bit further up the grid. We'll have a look at that in just a second here. And McLaren tries to dive down the inside. Not going to be space for him. So we're going to go have a look at the overtake just over here. Was Kelly losing the position to this McLaren, so we'll see how that occurred. So we go through the final corner and down onto the main straightaway. It looks like just a poor exit from the Ferrari will put them under threat from the McLaren just behind. Down onto the main straightaway. I think it is the back straightaway technically, as it is called. It will just be Ferrari straight line speed losing out to the McLaren. The McLaren running a much lower wing setting. Looks for the move around the outside, looks for the move around the inside. It's going to be the move through the inside, and we're going to miss it because of the replay. But we'll have just dived down the inside of the chicane. Julian very, very close on the back of Kerlin here, so Kerlin under threat. So is Mallow in front with the Lamborghini just behind him. I think Mallow and Linus were the two drivers who had a little bit of a run-in early on in this race. So I think they have some history going for them. One of them is certainly going to be more determined to pass than the other, and that's going to be Linus making the move down the inside of the final corner, side by side as they go down the main straightaway. And no, it's going to be Linus pulling fully ahead through that final corner, so just saw his opportunity to make a move. Mallow sort of just left the door open, and that is the Lamborghini through. Now, up the hill, will the Lamborghini have the torque it needs? Looked like it wasn't the best of exits for Linus here. Mallow may well be able to make the move stick if he is able to keep the throttle pinned. 0.3 of a second here as we go down towards the chicane. It's not going to be close enough to make the move just yet. GOVEE has caught up to the Mustang for P2, so there is a potential fight at the front of the grid right now. GOVEE's strategy ultimately paying off, even if the lost lap time did not. And up the hill they go. GOVEE has the better tires. Mustang has the better engine. Track position is in the Mustang's favor. And through down into the chicane. GOVEE will not be close enough to make the move, but he will have much better brakes than the Mustang. This is the closest he's been all race into this second sector. And this is the sector where the Ferrari is quick. This is the sector where he has the opportunity to make this move. 0.3 of a second separating them as they go down into that middle sector. And through into turn 11. This is where GOVEE has better braking than a lot of other drivers. It's not going to be better braking today. And stuck right on the bumper of the Mustang. Thinks about the move, but it's not going to be the space he needs. Sebastian loses the position, or Sebastian gains the position to Cavalcanti here. Rather, as they go side by side through the chicane. GOVEE still 0.3 behind his rival, the Mustang, in P2. And that gap will not open up anymore. It's closed into 0.1 of a second as they go through into the Mustang's strongest section. Down the main straight for the one of the final times this race. Not many laps remaining, so GOVEE needs to make this move sooner than later. Cavalcanti, Kelly, and Sebastian all fighting for P6 right now. Very, very close in the front of the midfield. That top 10 position is still worth great points. GOVEE only 0.2 as they go down the main straight. And 0.2 it remains as they go down the main straight. Is it going to be a dive down into the chicane? Not quite yet, but GOVEE is close enough to make the move into this middle sector. This could be the opportunity that he's been looking for all race. 0.4 of a second. The Mustang runs wide. It's going to be a better exit from the Ferrari driver. The Mustang's going to have to worry about defending into this middle sector. It's a good exit from the Mustang even with the mistake. 0.4 of a second separating the pair of them. And we go down into the middle sector for one of the final times this race. Not many opportunities to make the move left, and GOVEE will stay behind just for now. Down the back straight for, I believe that is the one of the 6th time left. 0.1 of a second separating him, and he's looking desperately for the move. Tries it under braking. There's not going to be the space. 0.2 of a second separating. He's practically pushing him out of the corner. Mustang runs wide. Takes a little bit of extra track limits just to hold his position in front. And this is a tooth and nail fight for this podium position. 0.2 of a second separating them. Mustang makes a little bit of a mistake. GOVEE with a better launch out of the final corner. It's going to be a good launch from the Ferrari, good launch from the Mustang, but it's a better launch for the Ferrari. It's going to be the move down into turn 1. Not quite yet. GOVEE's going to stay behind. He thinks about making the move, thinks about the dive, slots back in behind. Now onto the main straight, onto the S's. Will it be a better run for the Ferrari? It absolutely will be a better run for the Ferrari. He's going to push him up the hill. No space separating these two drivers as they try to go side by side. Mustang holds the inside, defends that inside line. and Yuzubi up the hill, 0.2 separating, not able to make that gap work just yet in his favor, but the chicane is so tempting. He's not going to dive for it, though. He's going to stay behind, use the middle sector, and it's an amazing fight so far. The Mustang just barely staying in front, and Yuzubi, 0.3, gets a better launch out of this middle sector, and it's going to be side by side for turn 10. Around the outside for the Ferrari. Is he going to make it stick? He tries to make it stick, makes a little bit of contact with the back of the Mustang. It's not going to be the move just yet, and he's going to have to stay behind for the next series of corners. The blue flag on the side of the road causes a little bit of interference. He tries to make the move down the inside, nearly taps the back of the Mustang. It's getting desperate now. It is all or nothing for the Ferrari driver. And I think it's going to back off just a little bit here. So we go down towards the fast sector for the Mustang. Side by side for Cavalcante and Sebastian into the chicane. It's contact between the pair of them. That's Cavalcante off the road. It's going to be Kelly up a position. And now Sebastian is going to be under threat from the RSR driver. Yuzubi still 0.2 behind Rufo for P2. And now onto the main straight yet again. That's Schick up in front. We'll have to give way to the pair of these drivers on this straightaway. And down into turn 1. Is it going to be a move for the Ferrari driver, and is not close enough just yet? And he's not going to be close enough just yet. Onto the main straight. It's a better exit for the Mustangs, so Ferrari finally backing off just a little bit. It's a breath of fresh air for Rufo that won't last very long as we go down towards the chicane. This is one of the stronger corners for the Ferrari compared to the Mustang. Mustang can take it quite well, though. Ferrari is a little bit less stable when it comes down to these very heavy curb usage corners. And it's a better line for the Mustang. He will gain a little bit of lap time to the Ferrari behind. Middle sector here, though. This is where the Ferrari is quick. He can close that gap yet again and stay close for the next lap round. Not a lot of time left on the clock. That clock is ticking down. It's ticking fast. Only 5 minutes of racing. That's 3 laps, or 3 to 4 laps of racing remaining for these drivers right now. 0.2 of a second separating them as we go down onto the back straight. Is it going to be the move for Yuzubi? Now that Mustang straight line speed is so much better than the Ferrari can muster. And now down onto turn 12 into the heel. Not enough for the Ferrari, but still bumper to bumper. And this has been some amazing fighting so far. And it's costing them a lot of lap time, but a lot of lap time they have to spare. The next car back 30 seconds, so they can lose up to 30 seconds and still stay in their positions. Nico running away in front. I don't think any of these drivers are concerned with their position right now. They just want to beat each other on track. 0.2 of a second separating. The Mustang goes defensive for the first time on the straightaway. Yuzubi has the line right now, the outside line. He's going to try and sweep around the outside. Holds a good line, tries to get a good exit. It's a better exit for the Ferrari. He's going to close in. There's going to be no space. And if we go on board with the front bumper, it is just Mustang in front and no real space for offer. As we go up the hill for one of the final times down to the chicane, Yuzubi's going to start getting real desperate to make this move. 0.1 of a second separating as they brake for the chicane. Go flying through over the curbs. You can see just how bouncy those cars go when they hit those bumps. And it is so close between the pair of them. Yuzubi is practically pushing the Mustang out of the corner. It's going to be the move down the inside. He thinks about it, but it's not going to be the space opened up just yet. And it's an amazing fight, practically giving him a bump draft down the straightaway. It's going to be a move around the outside for the Ferrari. Is he going to be able to hold the grip down the main straight? Or down the back straight, rather. It's going to be a great move around the outside for Yuzubi, just barely slotting himself in front. Will Rufo make the dive down the inside? The door is open, but Yuzubi covers it off with some late braking, and now it's the Mustang strong sector. This is where the Mustang can close back in, make that overtake. It's not over yet. Yuzubi needs a good exit here. He needs a good exit from every single corner upcoming, or he will lose this position and not hold on to it. It's the final few laps of running, though. There's not a lot left for the Mustang to do. Mustang backs off, so it's 1 whole second for Yuzubi Is it going to be enough for him to hold on to this position? It looks very likely he'll hold on to this position. It's an amazing fight. One of the best fights we've seen this season so far. And it will be Yuzubi just running away with that P2 position. Rufo will be trying everything he can to close that gap, to catch up to the Ferrari in front, but it's not going to be enough. It's going to be Yuzubi running away. I don't think the Mustang is going to catch up. Kelly right on the back of Sebastian here. This battle's not over here for P6 either. It's been going all race long, and now Kelly's made his way into this fight. He was P6 originally. He's lost that position now. I believe he started in a little bit further back of the field, so it's still a great position from him. And, positions gained, yeah, Kelly's gained 7 positions from where he started. He wants to make it 8. He's going to make it 8 if he can make this move stick, but he's not there just yet. 2 laps remaining for all drivers on track right now. Nico will cross the line in about a minute's time, and that will mark the final lap of running for this Watkins Glen race. Kelly right on the bumper of Sebastian here onto the straightaway. Will it be a move into the chicane? 0.1 of a second separating them. Kelly looks to the outside, looks to the inside. Is there going to be space for the RSR car? It's not going to be opened up, but Kelly tried to make it stick regardless. He's looking for that move. It's a little bit of a desperate play from the RSR driver, but it is an opportunity nonetheless. Last lap for Nico, last lap for everyone else behind him, and they will have to do the best they can. Kelly will have one more lap after this when he crosses the line to overtake this Ferrari just in front. It's going to be a wonderful battle here. It's going to be very, very close between the pair of them. They pitted about the same time, so they're not going to have much tire difference here. But Kelly is showing that he has a little bit more pace on track right now, and he has more pace overall. Down into turn, turn 12 for one of the final times, the second to last time this race for these two drivers, and it's nearly bumper to bumper. 0.4 of a second separating, almost 0.3 as they go through the hairpin of turn 13. That gap closes just a little bit as Sebastian doesn't get the best of runs out, doesn't get the best of runs in, and misses the apex, just running a little bit wide. It's a good line from both of them, though. Good exit through the turn 14. Turn 15 is also good for both of them. Kelly running all the way out, using every bit of track all the way out to the barrier. Pit window closed. No drivers can pit anymore. It doesn't really matter. Everyone's already served their pit stop. This is the only fight for position right now. Nico is running away with P1. Yuzubi running away with P2. Rufo in a very clear P3. And Kelly fighting with everything he's got for P6. It'll be an amazing result for him. He'll be no doubt very happy to make the move on the last lap. And it looks like he's got the run down the main straight, down into the chicane. He could possibly make the move. It's bumper to bumper. Sebastian goes defensive. Kelly's forced to the outside line. Car in front will disrupt this battle just a little bit. And that is a blue flag. They will have to give way. This is going to interfere with the battle. Kelly has to sweep around the outside of the blue flag. Nearly makes it 3 wide with Sebastian just in front. Middle sector now. We're running out of time left for these drivers to make the move through the sweeping corner of turn 10. Very, very close between these two drivers. Sebastian holding P6 just for now. Kelly not close enough to make the move into turn 11, but he might be able to make it into the heel as he gets a nice wide line, but it's a better line for Sebastian. I think just a little bit of a little correction from the RSR Ferrari will not be enough to make the move. He's not close enough just yet. It's going to need a mistake from Sebastian. Only 3 more corners remain. There's almost nothing left for the drivers to do. Sebastian just has to hold it for a few more corners. Kelly just has to hope for a single mistake. Anything from the car in front, any give that he can take advantage of. Carlos 0.3 behind, Cavalcanti just behind this battle, so we'll go look at that after we get through this final corner. It looks like Sebastian is going to take P6. Kelly cements his position in P7. Carlos stuck on the back of Cavalcanti as they go through the final corner. It's not going to be enough to make the move, and it's going to be Cavalcanti finishing in P8, Carlos in P9, Nico takes P1, and they will cruise to the finish. And what a fight we've witnessed today. Oh my word. That last 15 minutes of battling was something special. And as they go through, we'll see a nice TV cam view of the drivers. What a fight today as Nico wins the Watkins Glen round 4 of Phoenix Sim Sport. And Usby just in P2, Rufo in P3, and Ivanov P4, Arct P5, Sebastian P6, Kelly P7, Cavalcanti P8, Carlos P9, and Linus P10 for our top 10. Andrew Taggart just missing out with P11. Mallow in P12 after a great fight, but just losing out overall. Kerlin in P13. And Julian P14. Webby P15. Jonathan in P16. Joe Viper P17. Dennis P18. George in P19, and Max rounding out the top 20 points paying positions. I hope you all had a wonderful time this stream. I know I certainly did. What a fight we've witnessed today, and what a battle between the front of the grid. I've not seen something quite that good in quite a while. What a race today. And hopefully you'll join us for the next race. We'll be here, same time, same place, for the next round of racing. Suzuka, that will be on the 12th. What a fight from the drivers. Thank you everyone for joining us. I hope you had a wonderful time, and we'll see you on the next one.